All right, let's dive in. Today we're looking at DeepSeek V3. It's this new large language model, and it's from DeepSeek AI. We're going to be pulling from the DeepSeek V3 Hugging Face model card to do this deep dive, really get into the nuts and bolts of what DeepSeek V3 is and why it's making waves.
Yeah, it's definitely making some noise. And the first thing to know about DeepSeek V3, I think, is that it's not just big, but it's also really complex. It's a mixture of experts model. We'll unpack that.
Mixture of experts. So is that like having a bunch of different AI brains like all working together?
That's a good way to put it. Instead of one giant AI trying to do everything, it's more like a team of specialized AI experts, each one focusing on its own little area. So that allows DeepSeek V3 to be a lot more versatile, a lot more efficient. It can tap into like a wider pool of knowledge and skills.
Okay, so it's like a dream team of AI specialists. The model card mentions 671 billion parameters, but only 37 billion are active at any one time. I mean, those are huge numbers, but why is that even important?
Well, the sheer size of DeepSeek V3 allows it to store a ton of information, and it lets it process all these really complex tasks. But having all of those parameters active all at once, I mean, that would just be way too resource intensive.
So it's like our own brains, right? We don't use all of our knowledge all at the same time.
Exactly. That's a really good way to think about it. DeepSeek V3 is designed to be smart about how it uses its resources. It activates only the experts that are needed for the task at hand. And that way, it can operate super efficiently without sacrificing performance.
Gotcha. So it only uses what it needs when it needs it. Well, the model card also talks a lot about innovation and efficiency. What are some of the big innovations that make DeepSeek V3 really stand out from the crowd?
Well, one of the major innovations is their new approach to load balancing. With so many experts, it's a challenge to make sure that they all get used equally and to make sure they don't slow things down. So DeepSeek, they've got this new strategy that ensures that all the experts are used really effectively, and it results in smoother performance, faster performance.
That's pretty slick. And then there's this whole multi-token prediction thing. So DeepSeek V3 can actually predict like entire phrases, not just one word at a time.
Yeah. That's right. Most language models just go one word at a time, which can be kind of slow. But DeepSeek V3, it can predict multiple tokens at the same time, which makes it a lot faster.
So it's kind of like when you're reading a book and you can almost anticipate like the next few words or even how the sentence is going to end.
Exactly. That's a great analogy. And it's not just about speed. It's also that this ability to predict these chunks of language, it helps DeepSeek V3 understand the context and the relationships between the words better.
So it can see the bigger picture, not just individual words. Pretty impressive. The model card also mentions breakthroughs in training using something called FP8, which I'm assuming is some pretty deep technical stuff.
It is a little technical, but basically FP8 is this special way to represent numbers. It takes up less memory and processing power, so it's more efficient. So by using FP8 DeepSeek AI, they've been able to train this massive model way faster and with less computing power, which is pretty important.
So it's like they found a shortcut to make the training process more efficient without losing any accuracy.
Yeah, that's a great way to put it. And it's a really big deal because it makes training these large models way more accessible and sustainable for everyone.
We've talked about how big and efficient DeepSeek V3 is,
Yeah.
but what about its ability to reason, actually solve problems? The model card mentions this reasoning distillation. What is that all about?
That's where DeepSeek V3 really starts to shine, I think. They took one of their other models, DeepSeek R1, which uses this chain of thought approach to problem solving. It's like teaching an AI to think step by step, like breaking down a problem into smaller pieces.
So it's not just mimicking how humans talk, it's learning how to think like us.
Exactly. That's the goal. They took the reasoning capabilities from DeepSeek R1 and distilled them into DeepSeek V3, which makes DeepSeek V3 even more powerful and adaptable.
So it's not just a parrot, it's a problem solver. Now, how does all of this translate into real-world performance? The model card has all these charts and graphs that show how it stacks up against other language models.
Yeah, and those charts, they're telling a pretty interesting story. So in benchmarks that test things like language understanding, reasoning, code generation, all those kinds of things, DeepSeek V3 consistently outperforms other open source models.
So it's like the valedictorian of the AI class. But it really seems to excel in math and coding.
Absolutely. That's one of the things that makes it so exciting. Its ability to do well in those areas is a big step forward. It suggests that AI isn't just getting good at language, it's actually starting to understand the logic behind these complex systems.
So instead of just crunching numbers, it can understand what those numbers actually mean and how they relate to the real world.
Exactly.
That's pretty wild. And how does it compare to the big closed source models that everyone's always talking about, the ones from the big tech companies?
Well, even compared to those giants, DeepSeek V3 holds its own, and in some cases, it actually beats them on some pretty complex tasks.
Wow, it's like David beating Goliath. But how is that even possible? Those closed source models, they have access to so much data and computing power.
Yeah, but DeepSeek V3's success really highlights how powerful innovation and efficient design can be. You know, the unique architecture, multi-token prediction, FP8 training, all those things have helped DeepSeek create a model that punches way above its weight class.
So it's not just about brute force, it's about being smart and efficient.
Exactly. And there's one more thing that's really important, the 128K context window.
128K. That's massive. What does that even mean?
Think of it like DeepSeek V3's short-term memory. It's basically how much text the model can process and remember at any one time. With a 128K context window, DeepSeek V3 can handle something as long as a novella. It can keep track of all the information and relationships in that text.
Whoa, that's like an AI with a photographic memory.
It's not quite photographic memory, but it's a big step toward AI that can really understand and process information on a deeper level.
So it's not just about processing information fast. It's about understanding it and remembering it in context.
Yeah.
That must open up all sorts of possibilities.
Oh, absolutely. That long-range context understanding is crucial for things like summarizing long documents, or translating really complex texts, or having these nuanced conversations, things that require that deep understanding.
Okay, so DeepSeek V3 is powerful, it's efficient, and it can understand and retain information in a way we haven't really seen before. But how can someone actually experience this AI? Is it locked away in some research lab?
Not at all. DeepSeek AI has made it surprisingly accessible. They've got a website, chat.deepseek.com, and you can go there and interact with the model directly.
So anyone can go to the website and just chat with this super intelligent AI.
That's right. It's a great way to get a feel for what DeepSeek V3 can do. You can ask it questions, give it prompts. You can even just have a conversation with it.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
But what about developers who want to do more than just chat? What if they want to actually use DeepSeek V3 in their own applications?
Well, DeepSeek offers an OpenAI-compatible API for that. You can find it at platform.deepseek.com.
Right, so what does that mean for developers?
It means they can integrate DeepSeek V3 into their own software and apps. They can build all sorts of AI-powered tools, you know, writing assistance, language translation, data analysis, you name it. The possibilities are pretty much endless.
So DeepSeek V3 isn't just some cool AI to chat with. It's a powerful tool that developers can use to build amazing things. And it sounds like they've made it really easy to use.
Definitely. But there's one more way you can experience DeepSeek V3 that I think is really interesting.
Ooh, I'm intrigued. What is it?
You can actually run DeepSeek V3 locally on your own computer.
Wait, really? Isn't that super difficult? Don't you need like a supercomputer to run a model this big?
You'd think so, but DeepSeek AI, they've worked with the open source community to make it surprisingly achievable. They've got these projects like SGLang, LM Deploy, TensorRT LLM, and VLLM, all these things that help you run DeepSeek V3 on your own hardware.
Okay, that's a lot of technical jargon. Can you break it down for us non-programmers?
Basically, these projects provide frameworks and tools that simplify the process of running DeepSeek V3. They make it work on different hardware, even on AMD and Huawei platforms.
So even if you don't have access to a massive data center, you can still run this cutting-edge AI on your own machine.
Yes, exactly. It opens up a whole world of possibilities for research, customization, and offline use.
That's really impressive. It sounds like DeepSeek is really committed to making this powerful AI as accessible as possible. We've covered a lot of ground here, but we've only just scratched the surface.
Definitely, there's so much more to talk about when it comes to DeepSeek V3's capabilities and all the potential it has.
And that's where part 2 comes in, right? We'll dive deeper into those performance benchmarks and what they mean for the real world, and we'll explore how DeepSeek V3 could really change various industries and fields.
Exactly. So stay tuned. We're just getting started.
Okay, welcome back. Last time we got a little taste of just how incredible DeepSeek V3 is, but those model card charts, I gotta say, they're still a bit of a mystery to me.
Yeah, they can be a little intimidating. They kind of speak their own language sometimes, but don't worry, we can demystify them. So basically, those charts are like DeepSeek V3's report card. They show how it stacks up against other AIs on these standardized tests, we call them benchmarks. And these benchmarks, they measure things like how well the AI understands language, how good it is at answering questions, even how well it can generate code.
Okay, so it's like comparing DeepSeek V3 to other AI models and seeing who gets the A+ with. And you mentioned before that DeepSeek V3 really shines when it comes to math and coding.
hmm
Why is that so significant?
Well, it's significant because it hints at a future where AI isn't just good with words, it can actually grasp the logic of complex systems. Think about the potential breakthroughs in fields like finance, engineering, even scientific research.
So instead of just crunching numbers, it can understand what those numbers mean, how they apply to the real world.
Exactly. Imagine an AI that can analyze financial data and then give you personalized financial advice. Or an AI that helps scientists develop new medicines by understanding those complicated molecular structures.
Whoa, that's next level stuff. And what about its coding skills? Could DeepSeek V3 actually write software?
Absolutely. Imagine giving DeepSeek V3 a set of instructions and it spits out the basic code for you. Or you could use it to find and fix bugs in code, freeing up human programmers to do more creative things.
That would completely change the game for software development. Sounds like something straight out of sci-fi.
It does, doesn't it? But this is becoming more real every day. And here's what's really exciting. Remember, DeepSeek V3 is open source, so anyone can use it, modify it, even build commercial products with it, thanks to the MIT license.
So it's not just researchers and developers who can benefit from this. Anyone can.
That's right. That MIT license is huge. It means companies, big or small, can use DeepSeek V3 without paying any licensing fees. It's like leveling the playing field, giving everyone access to these powerful tools.
That could lead to a huge wave of innovation as more people get their hands on this AI.
Absolutely. That's the hope.
Now, you mentioned that DeepSeek V3 stacks up pretty well against those closed source models, the secretive ones. What kind of benchmarks are we talking about here?
Two of the big ones are MMLU and AGI-EVil. Think of them as the SATs for AI. They test a whole bunch of different abilities. And DeepSeek V3 consistently scores at the top of the class, even beating out some of those big closed source models we were talking about.
That's incredible. How can an open source model outperform ones with so much money and data behind them?
It really shows you the power of ingenuity and efficiency. Those innovations we talked about, the multi-token prediction, the FP8 training, the load balancing, they all contribute to DeepSeek V3's amazing performance. It's not just about brute force, it's about smart design.
It's about working smarter, not harder, right?
Exactly.
We talked earlier about DeepSeek V3's crazy 128K context window, but I'm still trying to wrap my head around what that means in the real world.
Okay, let me paint a picture for you. Imagine you're a lawyer, right? And you're getting ready for this huge case.
Yeah.
You've got stacks of legal documents, contracts, precedents, hundreds of pages to go through. It's overwhelming.
I wouldn't even know where to start.
Exactly. But DeepSeek V3, with its massive context window, could go through all those documents. It could remember every important detail, every connection, every argument. It could find key evidence, spot contradictions, even suggest legal strategies.
It's like having an AI legal assistant right there with you. What other scenarios could benefit from that kind of long-range understanding?
Think about a scientist trying to make sense of the latest research on a disease. Instead of spending months reading through thousands of papers, they could feed it all to DeepSeek V3. And the model, with its huge context window, could summarize the findings, identify trends, even suggest new avenues for research.
That could completely revolutionize scientific discovery.
Absolutely. And those are just two examples. The potential applications for DeepSeek V3 are practically endless, especially when you consider all the different ways people can access and use it.
That's a perfect segue to our next topic. We've talked about the website and the API, but the model card also mentioned running DeepSeek V3 locally. Is that something a regular person could actually do?
You might be surprised. In our final segment, we'll explore all the different ways you can experience DeepSeek V3, from casual conversations on their website to using their powerful API, and even the exciting world of running this AI on your own computer.
Okay, so we're ready to wrap up our DeepSeek V3 deep dive. Let's talk about how you can actually try this thing out. Where should someone even begin?
Well, if you're just curious, want to see what it's all about, the easiest way to get started is to head over to DeepSeek's website, chat.deepseek.com. It's just a simple chat interface, but it's pretty powerful under the hood.
So you're saying it's not just some basic chatbot. I'm really talking to the full DeepSeek V3 AI.
That's right. You're interacting with the real deal. You can ask it anything, give it prompts, see how it generates different types of text. It's a good way to get a feel for what DeepSeek V3 can do.
That sounds pretty fun. But let's say I'm a developer and I want to build something with DeepSeek V3. What then?
Well, that's where the API comes in. They've got an API over at platform.deepseek.com, and it's actually designed to be compatible with OpenAI's API, which is kind of the industry standard.
So if I'm a developer who already uses OpenAI stuff, I can easily switch over to DeepSeek V3.
Yeah, exactly. They've made it really smooth for developers to integrate it into their workflow.
What kind of cool stuff can developers build using this API?
Oh man, the possibilities are huge. AI writing tools, language translation apps, smarter chatbots, even things for data analysis and research. Really anything you can imagine doing with a language model, you can probably do it with DeepSeek V3's API.
That's amazing. It's like giving developers superpowers. And the fact that it's open source, no crazy fees or restrictions.
It really is a game changer.
Now, earlier we talked about running DeepSeek V3 locally on your own computer. That sounds pretty hardcore. Is that something a regular person can even do?
You don't need a computer science degree, but it does help to be a bit tech savvy. But the good news is DeepSeek and the open source community, they've made it a lot easier than you might think. They've got projects like SGLang, LM Deploy, TensorRT LLM, and VLLM. All of these provide frameworks and tools to help you get DeepSeek V3 running on your own hardware.
Okay, I'm going to need a little help with those acronyms.
Haha, no problem. Basically, these projects offer different ways to make DeepSeek V3 run well on different hardware. Like AMD and Huawei platforms. They handle all the complicated stuff like optimizing the code, managing memory, splitting up the work across processors.
So you're saying even if I don't have a massive data center, I could potentially run this AI on my own computer?
That's right. You might need a decent machine, but it's definitely possible. And DeepSeek has all sorts of instructions and documentation on their GitHub to help you through it.
So why would someone want to run DeepSeek V3 locally? What's the advantage?
Well, a few reasons. First, you have total control, right? You control the model, you control the data. You don't have to rely on an external API or even an internet connection. That can be important for privacy and security.
So if I'm working with sensitive information, it's safer to keep it all on my own machine.
Exactly. And second, running it locally gives you more freedom. You can customize it, experiment with it, fine-tune it for specific tasks, try different configurations.
It's like having your own personal AI playground.
Yeah. And third, it can be cheaper in the long run, especially if you're using it a lot.
So depending on what you need and what resources you have, running it locally could be the way to go. It's pretty amazing that DeepSeek offers so many different ways to use this incredible AI.
It really shows you how committed they are to open access and collaboration. They didn't just create this powerful AI, they made it accessible for everyone, from curious folks just starting out to hardcore developers.
It's inspiring to see such powerful technology being shared so openly with the world. It feels like a whole new era for AI where innovation and accessibility go hand in hand.
I couldn't agree more. And who knows what the future holds as more people get their hands on tools like DeepSeek V3. It's exciting to think about all the amazing applications and discoveries that could come out of it.
Definitely a future full of possibilities. Well, I think we've covered just about everything there is to know about DeepSeek V3. Any parting words of wisdom before we wrap things up?
Yeah, I think it's important to remember that DeepSeek V3, as incredible as it is just the beginning. The world of AI is constantly changing and evolving, and we can expect to see even more incredible breakthroughs in the future.
I can't wait. Thank you so much for taking us on this DeepSeek V3 journey. It's been incredibly insightful, and I hope everyone listening is as excited about the future of AI as we are. Until next time, stay curious and keep exploring.